Vikram sir is sort of promising, the film does well, I will do part 2.
Yeah.
And my film is part 1. For me, I can't just leave a film, and let it lie there on the shelves. And then putting it out and then what it does is definitely not your control. So I'm ready for that experiment is all I'm saying. Either don't want to make that or want to make this. I'm not really affected by the comments that come to me. I still ask him whether I can work with him. That's not going to happen at all. He keeps saying you're too busy. Major money is coming in into the account or it's bringing me offers the next day. It's not that. It's the
Bro, his name is John. 2-4 sound, feel like he's a don. Mission is on.
Hello sir, welcome to The Hindu. Thank you for your time. How are you doing first of all?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah.
We have met before, but this is the first video interview of sorts, so it's a little different this time. Before we get to DN, let's talk about the year you've had of 23, right? I went through your filmography and you've done, with DN it'll be the 10th film as an actor this year. That's pretty prolific, right? Because most even supporting actors and all don't do 10 films a year. You've been really busy this year.
I swear I didn't know that.
I know. 10 films is a lot to take in. You've been really busy.
Okay.
So looking back at it, like you've also, obviously you've starred in 2 huge films like Leo and Viduthalai, and you were really good in them. You were as good as the other actors, as cast and stuff like that, right? So I know you've always been a reluctant actor. You've always said this. You got into it for various reasons. But after this year, and because of Joshi in Leo and Sunil Menon in Viduthalai, even after the drama settles down, do you see yourself continuing to act in some capacity? Because it seems like you're really enjoying yourself a lot more in films like these as opposed to maybe a little bit before. Yeah.
I think I'm done with it, ideally.
Okay.
But then, since you also mentioned films like these,
Yeah.
if a few calls come from directors like Vetrimaran and Lokesh, and I might just think about it, I think. Right now, I think I'm done with it. I've never looked forward to it. There have been a few really bad experiences, and I'm thankful that I got the offers. It helped me sort out a few things, and that was the idea of getting into it also. But when Vetri calls, you don't want to refuse, because for me, it's also like a huge learning process also to be on somebody else's sets whose work you admire, you like, and you watch his films, and then when he calls you to be a part of that process, you're also looking around and you're finding out whether you're also doing something right or whether it's completely different from what he's doing and all that. And likewise with Lokesh also, he called me for Vikram. That time things didn't work out. I was in the middle of Vendatani the Kadu, and then when he called me for Leo, I didn't want to say no. Right now, there is a team that is insisting I shouldn't be in any film as an actor.
Yeah.
So most calls that come, they're saying no.
Okay.
Of course, it comes to me also. 1 or 2, so like director Hari recently called me and said 1 day's work.
Yeah.
This one special officer who comes in from Delhi, IAS.
The classic cop role which
Yeah,
you're
no,
known
this
for.
is IAS with a suit and all that.
Vikram.
So I went with the suit from home.
Okay.
And he just asked me once and I said okay.
Yeah.
So, if that's all it is. Otherwise, I don't wake up thinking, okay, what am I going to act into?
What was your biggest takeaway from working on the sets of someone like a Vetri or a Lokesh, who are, from the outside world, they're very different from who you are as a filmmaker. As a filmmaker, what was your biggest takeaway from those 2 experiences specifically, maybe?
Huge learning, for sure.
Yeah.
Both Vetri and Lokesh. Lokesh for the big production that it was, the number of people on the sets, and how he handles Vijay, and the fact that there is this creative liberty to sort of work around the universe, bring other actors into that film and all that, right? Very few directors get away with it in that sense. For Kamal sir to lend his voice in Leo, I thought was huge, in that sense, because your actors themselves are not
Keen on,
not so keen. There's not enough camaraderie in that sense also. But beyond that, there's respect for a director, the world that he's created, and then there is a yes, I don't mind, giving my voice, which is huge, right? I think.
Massive.
With Vetri, it was a huge learning just in the terms of how he makes his films, and we talked about it a lot. There was a crew on sets filming the process of the filmmaking.
Okay. Wow.
Right, because it was a very evolving sort of a process. And I just like to be in that. Like when questions are asked, other than Vetri, nobody has any clue. So it's completely controlled by this director. And I'm not saying it in a megalomaniac sort of way, but it's completely driven by him, right? And for me, it was a huge learning. And there was a lot of discussion while the shot was happening. Can you say this? Can you say that? Even the name Sunil Menon evolved. It is not on paper.
Came up,
It was initially somebody else. Then I was asked to speak in a slight accent and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But somewhere along the way, I think closer towards dubbing is when I realized my name was Sunil Menon in the film. So it's completely in control of this one man, and that was a huge learning by itself. Yeah.
Okay, moving on to DN.
The elephant in the room.
The elephant
so
in
to
the room.
speak.
So most people think, this journey started 5-6 years ago when that teaser of Vikram in New York was cut, right? But I mean, we know that it initially started in 2013 when you wrote the script, went to Surya, started shooting, and then it went through this whole journey. And I mean, you finished 20 years, a couple of years ago. I really think if you look at those 20 years, you can think of it as life pre-DN and post-DN. Because DN has influenced not just the film in itself, but also you as a person. You've spoken about it, how it's gotten to you on some level, how it's affected other films of yours, how it's, it's influenced your ability to work with a certain kind of person, actor, or so on and so forth. Do you look back at this last 10 years since 2013 and think, it hadn't happened, life would have been completely different? Or do you think it's taught me so much? You've done things which you probably wouldn't have done. You've become an actor, you've sung now, you've done so much more to keep the process going. You've evolved so much as a filmmaker through all these challenges. And do you think the learnings were worth it, in the end?
That's quite a comprehensive.
I know. It's a look back at.
It encompasses everything.
Yeah.
I mean, if you believe in a journey, if you believe in destiny, if you feel it's all written there and you're just, in the flow of things, then maybe they started from the time I was born. So I'm not looking at it as 2013, 2017. For me, if you honestly ask me, this film started the day I finished work on the film, and from the time I started trying to put the film out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, see, that journey could have been a 60-day journey. It can be a 1-year journey. There have been films where the production plan itself was a shoot across 4 years, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have a production planned like that. Things went asunder, and which is why we had to sort of try and figure out and then finish the film. I picked it up. I picked up the reins at some point and said, I'll bring it to a completion. And I've said it even recently, speaking to someone else, I said, if it was any film, I would have done that.
Yeah.
And not necessarily because it is a special film, and it is, right? Because I had to complete that journey for me. For me, I can't just leave a film, and let it lie there on the shelves. It has to be completed. And I brought it to a completion, and now the effort is to put the film out, and in a good way. Looking back, I completely agree with what you said, and I have to just say yes, because it did open doors and windows. I met a lot of new people. I sort of became more with the industry, so to speak, right? COVID itself opened up discussion amongst 8 to 10 directors. A circle was formed, and then we used to meet in each other's offices, and I got an opportunity to interact with Mani sir, like how you and I are sitting across a table. And it was just the two of us also at on a couple of occasions.
Wow.
And I never thought that my journey would bring me, to any of these moments, right? So I feel there is a story, it's crafted, and you're just, like a chanchala sort of a thing, right? You're just flowing through that journey is what I feel. But no regrets at all. I mean, if you're asking me, did I wish that this film never happened? No way, because it's taught me a lot, and from being resilient to to being dogged at it, yes, it's taught me a lot, and I'm really happy that I'm at this space. No, absolutely no regrets.
Super.
Not even once have I thought, I said this to a few people in the team also. This film will, it will take us to the edge, but I'm sure it will do good for us.
Okay. Awesome.
That's how I feel about
Brilliant. For the casting of the film, in all your best kind of cop action thrillers of sorts, you've always had this antagonist who's almost equal to the protagonist. You've had really two strong opposite characters, from the Pandyas to Amod and Ila. Ila is also in this film. The guy who played Ila is in this film. Salim, yeah. To of course Victor. So when you wrote this film and you cast Vikram and Vinayakan in it, was that the kind of motive, like to pit two equals against each other who would, and we saw Vinayakan in the trailer, he's pretty posh, he's also, playing a very kind of similar character to Vikram in the sense how he dresses, how he talks and how he looks. Was that what you envisioned, and do you think you got that in the end, or, has, obviously casting changes happened, through the journey has something changed over between these two, this arc between them,
So when you write it, you hope for something like this to fall in place. Of course, I wrote it and then I went to Surya first. And then that didn't work out. And then about 3-4 years later, I pitched it to Vikram sir, and he liked it. He liked the idea. He said, I like the space that it's in. Let's do it. It looks very stylish, a film and all that. That it might turn out to be something like that. Vinayakan, of course, on paper and the writing and in my head, I had an imagery of somebody like this, equivalent to. So both of them are local within their sophisticated sort of demeanor and what they put out, right? They both, classy guys in that sense. Yeah. But when it comes to it, they're like hardcore,
they'll swear and everything.
Yeah, all
these
that.
things.
Yeah. And that's the attitude, right? It's like, don't mess with me kind of a thing. From that sense. So it was Didi who suggested, while we were trying to cast, she was already in the film and we'd started some work. And she said, sir, this Vinayakan, you should look at him. This film called Kamattipanam is released. So I happened to see the film and I thought, wow, it was very different from the imagery that I had. Right? While writing the character, I wanted somebody to be very, all that. But then this I didn't expect. We approached him and he came on board straight away. And Vikram sir and other heroes also, they've always told me that in your film, the villains will become very strong. Like in one of the early discussions also, Vikram mentioned that, saying in all your films, the antagonist is really powerful, so how is it going to be in this film? He was not insecure, which is a good thing. Yeah. There are heroes who could have been insecure. He was looking for the challenge, right? So that was a huge plus in that sense, that he was not averse to the idea of a strong character in the film like that. Once Vinayakan came on board, there was great camaraderie also between them while we shot the scenes together. I've talked about this. There was a moment when Vikram was doing the makeup touches for Vinayakan, like a fight scene where there was an injury. So he was saying, oh, you'll be parla, let's do this and all that. So, and even now when he saw the film, the first thing he said is, this is the best I'm looking in any film. Wow. It's a very stylish film. And Vinayakan, what an actor, Gautam, he said. So coming from him, coming from Vikram, so I got what I wanted with respect to the two actors and the ensemble cast itself. It's a world that I wanted the audience to traverse into, to get into. You might actually think that this doesn't exist at all. But for that, I needed these actors to be convincing. If I'm saying this guy is a commando, and if I'm saying this guy is also somebody who can be part of the intelligence network of the country, then you need to believe that, right? So all these actors did that for me, I think. They were really in there. And within that, it's not like one Inception kind of a film that makes you think. It's a commercial film. Within that, we've just tried a little bit of a technical sort of a thing. There is a conversation sequence. You need to give it a little thought. And it stems from the fact that 2611 could have been prevented. Was it lack of intelligence? Was it failure? Or did we know and we didn't act on it? And the first response chopper that landed, right, was almost 18 hours later. And why not in the next half an hour itself? Right, so was it bureaucracy and red tape that had to be cleared before a set of commandos could be dropped into the Taj, to take on the terrorists and all that. So this article that I read and just reading about this and looking at it, the idea came from there. If somebody who's at the helm of affairs as far as the governance of the country is concerned, what if he steps away and decides to set up a covert team that responds to him? And they're also commandos who will move in anywhere in the current scenario. They work alongside to the research and analysis wing. They work alongside to IB. Nobody knows of their existence, but somewhere everybody knows that they exist. Every country is supposed to have a team like this, a covert team, and I thought this could be one such team. And the idea with Vikram sir also was to make a series of films. With all due respect to the actors, Surya could have been Dhruv/John. Vikram can be Dhruv/John. Karthi can be Dhruv/John.
Rajnikant can be Dhruv/John.
I took it to Rajni sir.
I know that.
I took it to Rajni sir also. Dalapati Vijay could be. So this is just a wish list thinking. It might not even happen, and I have no qualms in just saying it. I'm not in that zone as yet to get actors, just like that on a call and stuff. But this is the idea.
Got it.
Easily, Vikram could be replaced by another actor who would continue playing John.
The journey.
But I don't want to do that. Vikram sir's sort of promise saying, the film does well, I will do part 2. And my film is part 1. This is very clearly part 1. It was always envisaged as a part 1 sort of a film, because I've kept a lot of ideas which I've not answered in this film. And honestly, it's not because we didn't shoot it. There's no issue with continuity. It's one look. We shot it and we moved out. It's just the other portions that I had to shoot without Vikram and everything to tie up the story, which I finished filming now in April. And we are in November looking to release the film. So I've kept a lot of openings. And I am in the 15th year of the team's existence. I don't show you what happened in year 1. I don't show you how the team formed. It's just a paper on which names are written, and the team is already in action. What they've done also, I don't know. There's only a mention from the villain side saying there is a team like this, and this is what they do. I summed it up in one line. There's a character that I play, and there's a character that Daniel Balaji plays, and both of us are in conversation. And I tell him, இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு டீம் இருக்கு. உங்கள மாதிரி ஆளுங்கிட்ட இருந்து நாட்டை காப்பாத்துறது தான் அவங்களுடைய வேலை.
Okay.
So he looks at you, he looks at me and says, "Sari, நம்மள மாதிரி ஆளுங்கிட்ட இருந்து." I say. It's summed up like that.
Nice.
In year 15, I show that the team is under attack.
Yeah.
And the team, there is a threat, and the team has to set that right. In my next part, I will show you the backstories for each of these guys, where they started from. For that, the film has to work. But in my filmography and in my line of thought, I don't care about that. I will definitely make a series of films on these characters.
Super, fantastic. So even the ensemble cast, other 10 people to Vikram, right? They're very interesting because when you see the names, you don't think of them as actors who would be in a film like this, considering the work they've done before, like from Simran to Radhika Sarathkumar to Didi to Satish. But also it's interesting that all of these are people you've worked with before. You have some kind of comfort zone with them. You have a great equation with them on and off camera as well. You know, while shooting the film, did that come into play? The fact that these actors are friends with you?
Actually, they're all friends.
Yeah, I know.
These are probably the only friends I have in the industry also.
So that's not true, but okay.
I like Parthiban sir, and he's always been very supportive. Like whatever I've done, there's a message from him, there's a phone call from him, we interacted. I want to do a series also with him, playing a cop character and all that. So when I asked him straight away, even though it's not the main role in the film, he was ready to be a part of this. And there is a backstory and everything which will come in the later films. Parts, Simran, of course, when I asked her, there was no discussion itself. She said, just let me know when you're shooting. Radhika, anytime I can call her and say, you know, Radhika, I want you to be part of this film. And that's what happened. Didi, Satish, Maya, Preeti, Vamsi, Salim. At every point there's a message from Salim, you know, just wishing me well.
Super.
So I managed, I thought I need to work with these people. So there was no screen tests or auditioning for any other characters. I asked these guys to be part of this 10 character ensemble, and they straight away came on board. And within that, I thought it'll be interesting to see them also in this space, right? The way Radhika handles a particular situation, the way Simran talks. Parthiban is like, you don't know if this guy is the mole in the team sort of a thing. Was the idea, you know, of casting him and stuff. Yeah, and Vinayakan and Vikram are the two pillars on either side. Yeah, and of course we have I didn't want to, I see this film as chapters, right? Initially we set up this one character and slowly bring in the team, and there is a chapter-like treatment. You see him in one space, suddenly he's in another space, and there are 4 lines of voiceovers in the film, which is over the first half an hour itself, and these connect those chapters. And within that there is a 10-15 minute love story also, where a man in his 40s or late 40s actually connects with a much younger girl, and it's just an easy sort of a romantic portion of the film with a couple of songs thrown in, which I didn't want to let go of, you know.
So you spoke about the fact that the film is doesn't look dated, the actors haven't, you know, aged and all. It still looks relevant and current, right? But what's changed in the last 5-6 years is the pandemic happened, of course, and streaming opened up. Like you compare Dhruva Natchathiram to like the Bone series. It reminds me of Ocean's 11 and you know, assembling a team together. So maybe 5-6 years ago, the audience did not know about a Bone series. But after the streaming influx, people have watched these, they know about it. The tendency will be there to compare it to these kind of films also. So in a way, the pros may be that they're open to accepting films without closures, without an emotional backstory. You know, they're open to, you know, accepting loopholes and wondering what comes next. You know, franchises, IP, you know, films and all that. But the con may be that they'll compare this to the big Hollywood blockbusters, which even my grandmother and mother are watching these days on TV. So how do you see that coming out? Yeah,
I see that as a good thing only. I really thought actually the comparison might be to a film like Pathan, because that's in the similar sort of a space.
Wire of Spy Universe,
and that's also about a covert team that's set up by the character that Dimple plays and all that. In fact, when I saw the film, I was like, oh gosh, and all that. But my idea of introducing the characters was what Lokesh did in Vikram, with all the names coming up. You know, halfway through the film, Santana Bharati comes up, and you know, when those characters come up. Right? But so we didn't do that now with this film. We removed that idea completely. Yeah, the first edit had that kind of a treatment. So because maybe we were, you know, 5-6 years in production, you know, obviously these things might come up, and then we might have to move away from that zone. Those were the only few worries that I had, but otherwise I'm happy to be compared to a film like that, and I wanted to be compared. And within that, like I've been saying recently, it's a very realistic film in that sense. There are no cars blowing up, and There are, but it's done very realistically, right? You hit somebody, he drops, he doesn't fly in the air and stuff, right? So I've tried to make a very commercial film, but in a sort of a realistic way, and I'm okay with that comparison. That'll be good for me only, I think.
You just said that you would like to make further chapters. You'd like to make DN 2, 3, and VTK 2. I know the script is kind of in the works, and you've already done a little bit of it.
Yeah.
But imagine for a minute that this DN saga ended. Your other commitments got done. Imagine Gautham Menon wakes up and with no problems in his life. Like he wakes up and he could make any film he wanted. He has a reasonable budget. He has the actors he wants. What would he make today? And why would it be Vinatani Varavaya too? I don't know. I can just see you going back to the basics, and just because I don't know. I've knowing you for a little while, I think that's the film you really want to make again. Is that am I right by saying that?
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. So that's the sort of dichotomy also right now, right? A love story is not really looked at, in
as
terms
a commercial
of
sell.
And I've faced that everywhere. Even with I've taken one particular love story to almost 7-8 big stars. They've liked it, and all of them have sort of unanimously said, "Put love story. Can we do an action film, pan-Indian film? All that." I'm saying this could be that. This could be that. It's only about who I cast as the girl.
Yeah.
And if I have somebody brilliant to do the music. A name that sort of traverses across, then that's all I'm looking for, because the love story will travel, I thought. Nobody's really willing to, say yes to a love story right now. As opposed to if I pitch a thriller or an action, they're willing to go at it straight away. So if I had the money and if everything was okay, it would be a love story which is in my control, which I'd love to do. It could be Vinatani Varavaya too. There's a film called, which is tentatively titled Superstar, which I'm really looking to do at every point. And a couple of other love stories that I've written. Viduthalai 2 also is an idea that was written by Mohan sir, and but somehow I think Simbu's moved on to another bigger film, and so we thought we'll wait for a bit and all that.
Do you think if a film like Vinatani Varavaya, you made it today and did come out in theatres, or even take for example an Alepayude for instance, it will still do well, but will it do the kind of numbers or reach the kind of success which it did 15-20 years ago? Do you think audiences will still flock to the theatres? I mean, I know Vinatani is still running in Satyam. I watched it a couple of weeks ago. But do you still think it'll attract that kind of attention?
I think it will. I think it will. Nobody else does.
Yeah.
I think everybody feels the numbers will be lesser and it won't reach, but I think it will. And I'm really okay with the idea of experimenting without being too expensive about it, and putting it out. Every film is that, right? You really don't know. How do you know a film will make these numbers, or whether that magic will work in the theatres? You might like it. There are 10 people who will like it. But once it goes out, it's one collective audience that sort of responds to the film. It might not reach them at all, right? I have had a couple of films like that. I've seen a couple of films like that from other filmmakers. I don't want to name those films, but what you thought were classics and were like really cult films in theatre, after a week it just peters down, right? So you never know, but that is not the journey, right? The journey is about making that film wholeheartedly, what you've done to the film, for the film, and then putting it out, and then what it does is definitely not in your control.
Okay.
So I'm ready for that experiment is all I'm saying. Yeah.
The two experiments you did maybe recently were VTK on some level, and also that the Navarasa shot you did, Van Magal, right? Yeah. When you did those films, you spoke about it also being a reply to your detractors or people who thought that you couldn't make this kind of film, right? But there's also the school of thought which says, Gautam, you're excellent at what you do. You've had tremendous success. Why not just stick to what you know best and give it? I mean, people who love it will come. People who want that kind of film, because I belong to a crowd of people who think that they're not enough romances. How do you see that? Do you think of it as I need to answer someone, or is it an internal struggle?
No, there's nothing like that.
Yeah.
It's just that the space that I am in. I was sitting with Mohan sir on an idea that he was talking to me about. It was just a 10-minute short story.
Yeah.
But I saw beyond that, and I asked him, what is beyond? He said, I haven't written it. My short story ends when he takes the gun and he leaves. I just left it to the reader's imagination. I said, so that's what I want you to set up. So it was me who told him, take it forward.
Okay.
Give me a story that could be about a sort of the underbelly. It doesn't have to be a sophisticated urban film. It can be, in one small space, so many people and all that. He kept talking about visuals like that. That's what grabbed me, and I wanted to see myself in that space.
Okay.
And I think I was really good at it. Whatever we set up within that film, I really enjoyed putting myself in that process. Is it comfort zone? Any film is not, because you have to put in, even if I'm making something that I just saw at home today and I was writing it, and I still have to create that, and I have to talk to people, get them to follow the visual imagery in my head and all that, right? So there's a lot of work with everything that you do. So that's not a struggle that I do get the comments now and then saying, sort of urban love story panla and all that, but I'm not really affected by those things.
Yeah.
It's not why I either don't want to make that or want to make this. I'm not really affected by the comments that come to me. If I feel like Thuppari Mardan is a film that I really want to, tackle. It's a period 1935 detective drama, but it needs sort of a production value, for somebody to really invest and understand the vision of that film. So I'm just waiting, for things to fall into place for films like that. Yeah.
A slight detour. I want to talk about your three sons. I know they're really into cricket and they're playing, cricket every day and all that. I know you're very, very fiercely protective of your family, but I just remember their names. It's Arya, Dhruva, and Adya. I'm right?
Yeah.
So Johan was named after Arya Johan. Dhruva Natchathiram is after Dhruva. Aduthapadam Adya Pira Challamma. It is a tribute to each of your sons' names.
He's actually Adya Joshua.
Okay, I missed that. I didn't know the second name. Okay, so all have been named, all tributes have been done already.
Yeah, I like the names, so I thought, these films could have these names. My wife is going to have a big problem me talking about
But okay, let me just ask you, they're all teenagers, I'm assuming now in that space. The temptation must be there, and I know like you still have, a film like Chennai or Malakalam, which you want to make a newcomers now. Has the temptation ever been there to cast one of them in one of your films?
No.
Not at all?
No, I think
and they also have no interest to...
Yeah. They watch films, they're keen to see what I've made, and they watch other films, and I take them to theatres to watch whatever they like to watch and all that. Watch a lot of stuff at home, but they're completely into cricket and school, right now, and Arya's just finished college also, so I've never thought of that. And the focus is like 100% on cricket right now. Like day begins with a with a training session and talking about the game and being in it and traveling and camps and under 19, under 16, Tamil Nadu and all that. So it's completely around that. In fact, our schedules at home are completely based around the kids' schedules. So even if we want to go out, we have to figure out if all three of them are there. Otherwise, each or one of them might be somewhere else playing. So it's completely cricket focused now, and we don't want to upset that at all. And even they are like completely focused on that. Whether they'll make the cut or not is completely up to them. The drive that they put into a lot of other factors and everything. But we are just giving them the the push that they need as far as being in that space is concerned. Yeah.
Did you guys go to any match recently because of the World Cup? You went lots.
I watch a lot of matches.
Yeah.
Whatever played IPL at Chepauk, we were all there. I travel across, like I watched the World Championship final, which we lost in England. I left on the 5th day when I realized it's not going to happen. I watched the World Cup finals last year, the entire setup, including the match we lost to New Zealand.
Yeah.
This year, I think DN has taken precedence over everything else. So,
actually, even the last 2 years, right, since the pandemic, it's seen a lot of you in the public limelight. Like you've been doing much more than just interviews. In the sense, most actors and directors, we see them when they come to promote their films. So, but you've been doing, you've been interviewing other people, interviewed Rahman sir, Karthi. You're doing your music videos. You're moderating seminars. You're also talking, during for your films and for, as an actor, you're doing press meets as well, right? You've been all over the place. So why do this? When you put yourself out there, it seems like a conscious need to get yourself there and talk about stuff. Is that a very decision which you made at some point?
No, honestly, no thought at all.
Okay.
It's not to put myself out there. And the fact that there are people who can be myths and they are, which, I myself, like if I want to say Amitabh Bachchan, I know it's not going to be easy, right? If I want to say Rajini sir or Kamal sir, it's not going to be easy. And they can be that. I don't think of myself like that in that sense. Because you asked me, I'm saying, it's never a thought. Like I know somebody said, why do music videos? You're a brand. I said, I don't think so. For me, I have a 3-minute idea, and that can be only in the form of a song. And I'm doing that. That's all. It doesn't do much. It's not like some major money is coming into the account or it's bringing me offers the next day. It's not that. The thought is never about that. And I like the idea from the beginning of just talking to a few people that I want to talk to. The idea being, like, it started off as an idea of what if I was able to talk to Mani sir on camera and ask him a lot of questions that I want to ask him and learn. I still ask him whether I can work with him. That's not going to happen at all. He keeps saying you're too busy, right? So I thought just an idea of I can't walk into his office and do that. So I thought on camera, if I can just talk to him. To do that, I had to do 2-3 more before
Series
that.
of songs,
So it started with Dhanush, then I would talk to Anushka. and then Mani sir happened, and then and some other things. Recently, somewhere I just thought, Karthi, why not? Because we never connected, we not worked together. I know Surya really well, but never not Karthi.
Brother, yeah.
And I like what he does, right? His films, he's been around for 16, 17 years, but he's done only 25 films. And it's not like, so you know what I'm saying? So I just thought something intriguing about him, and he just said yes immediately. And we just connected and we spoke. So it's not to put myself out there. It's just that I feel like doing something and let me do it. That's all.
You once told me that I should do a master class, to young filmmakers out there on, what to do when they enter the industry and also what not to do, because you've learned so much in the last 10 years. So now that this saga is finally ending or coming to an end soon, if you could say something to all the young filmmakers out there entering, or even the ones who are experienced and still sitting here and going through, similar issues or dealing with the business of cinema, like you put it, what has been your biggest takeaway from the last 10 years of the Dean experience?
I don't want to say it's not easy, Actually, it's a beautiful place to be in. I feel this dependency on other people and not owning up and not being there to do what you feel is right. That's what, makes it go haywire a bit. You need to be out there. You need to answer the calls. You need to take your decisions. Yeah. And even if there are partners and even if there is a team and everything, you have to figure out that this is what you want to do and take that forward and do it the right way. I mean, make sure the funds are structured, make sure you're in the right place, the right time. So I'm talking about a lot of things now, right? Make sure you're working with the right people. How do you know that? You have to give, there is a long road that you give a few people, but somewhere you will know. And all the calls should be yours. The writing should be yours, or you should have somebody who will give you something good that you can work around. The decisions to cast should be yours. The decision to sign somewhere should be yours, and not just because somebody is asking you to do that. And there's nothing as a desperate situation here. You make one film, there's a beeline to sign you, and just don't fall for that. Just wait, your turn will come. Now think carefully as to what you should do next. We didn't do all that, and I think the people before me also, only very few managed to do that, right? But I'm saying in 20 years, if I'm still there, and if there's still a film that's coming out for which there is a decent buzz around, then I know I've been in the right place and I'm doing something right, and that there is a set of people who want to watch what I'm making, right? So I'm happy about that. But this can't be just done over 2 minutes. I mean, there's so much I could tell them. But I don't definitely want to say that this is not an easy place to be in, and this is a place where you will lose money being a filmmaker. This is a great place to be in. And it's a fantastic industry where there are great people around, as long as you work with the right people, and that's only for you to know and figure out. Yeah.
You always spoken about how you could have done many things apart from getting into movies also, music, cricket, these are all options for you. Even now you keep talking about how sometimes your mind takes you there, you think about pursuing something completely differently. After 22 years in the industry, will there come a day where you decide to walk away from films at all, or do you think this is something you will do all your life?
No, I don't think I'll walk away.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll walk away. I'd love to write and direct. Like I said, the acting thing is not like really interesting, and unless there's a really big director or somebody nice that I want to work with. Maybe this film will cross, this particular hurdle that you're looking at. Film looks good, the film is nice and all that, but just let it be. Talk to people, figure out. I've never let that go. I've never thought. See, thoughts will come to you, right? You always draw a line.
Obviously,
I could be a serial killer, I'm saying. There are thoughts that come to you, right? But we don't, because somewhere we stay within the line, right? We stay within that line. So thoughts have always been there. Should I just let it go? Should I run away? And lots of even bizarre more thoughts, which I don't want to talk about because the younger people watching this shouldn't be like,
what is Gautam Menon thinking about? So this particular journey over the past 6 months has done that to me. But the next minute I've always picked it up saying, no, let's put it out and see. Let's fight this and see. Let's see. There is a wall. We'll try and break that wall and see. So that's how it's been, for sure. Fantastic. Okay, so thank you so much for your time. I really, really hope the film does well. So good luck. And next Friday, it's all set as of now. What do you expect from the audience when they watch the film? Do you have will they like it as much as they liked a Kaka Kaka or a Varnamayram?
Last time somebody asked me this question at a mall.
Okay.
And I said, Nalla thogi duanga, I said.
At meeting for VTK.
So then immediately they said, oh, padam vandu
slower
and all that. And within that scenario, there is a battle, there is a moment where somebody's life is in danger, and there are people out there who traverse this path, right? So maybe, with all due respect to Surya, the question that he asked me was, what is the reference to this film? Are these characters, do they exist? Am I getting into a film where these are imaginary characters and we have to get the audience to believe? So there were a lot of questions from him, which is all fair and all that maybe. But I didn't have those feelings, you know. That's the ability of a filmmaker or that team to draw you into that world, right? And within that world, I've shown you a few actors, especially Vikram's in full cry, like he's, and it's a different performance from, you know, a get-up change or, you know, being on the floor and, you know, a Sedu or a Pita Magan. It's not that kind of it's a very easy, drawing you in sort of a performance. And I just want the audience to come in and enjoy a 2 hour, 20-minute film, which I think is breezy and fast, and there's a lot of action, and it's a very, very stylish film, that's all.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your time, sir.
They can sleep and not sleep also. And,
they'll enjoy it still.
Film, yeah.
Super.